Hey everybody, so I'm back in my garden and I have a big day of work in this garden plan and I'm excited about it, and I'll tell you why I'm excited about it, because I got away from my garden. So this video is actually going to be just looking at a few gardens up on Mackinac Island, just some of my takeaways from them. Many of these gardens you might have seen before in other videos, but they always change every year a little bit, and I will put links to other videos that have featured these gardens, in particular Jack Barnwell's videos, because he is responsible for most of the gardens that I'm going to show you, or at least a big chunk of them. So it's interesting to see what he talks about when he's planting them and how they look now. But the thing I wanted to get to before we get to that is to just say that especially at this time of year, you might be feeling a little sick of your garden. Get out of it. Get away. I can't tell you how amazing it will make you feel. You know, the second we become slaves to our garden is when gardening doesn't become fun anymore. And what are we doing it for if it's not fun? So I really needed to get away. I was supposed to be gone longer, and through some things that happened, I actually ended up back here at 4 a.m. less than 2 days after we left. And I woke up after taking a nap and I looked around my garden and I thought, I don't want to be here. So we packed up and we drove up to Mackinac Island, which is where we were supposed to end up later via a different mode of transportation. And spent a couple of days up there, came back, and now I love my garden again. I'm happy to be in it. And it's just a couple of days made all the difference. So I really encourage you guys to take a break from your gardens if you're feeling like you need that right now, because it's a game changer. If you aren't familiar with Mackinac Island, it is a small island in the UP of, right off the UP of Michigan. So it's right where Lake Michigan and Lake Huron meet. Its claim to fame is that there are no cars, motorized vehicles other than emergency vehicles allowed on the island. So the only way you get around is by horse or by bike, and the only way to get to the island is by boat or plane, or for a very short time in winter via snowmobile. So it's a really special place. It is a tourist destination. So when you see these gardens, keep in mind that the goal of these gardens is to have the biggest impact for the summer season. They don't need to worry about winter interest there. They don't need to worry about anything that might really happen there in late fall or very early spring, because the people who are looking at these gardens are not there during that time. So that will tell you a little bit about sort of the style of planting that's there and why they rely so heavily on annuals. And the other thing to know is that there is something about that area. The air is so clean and crisp. Now, when I was there, actually there was a lot of haze from the wildfires sort of affecting things. But generally speaking, the sky there is clear and blue, and the atmosphere is perfectly clear. And so these bright colors that are often used in gardens, they're just absolutely explode. And it's just beautiful. So I think on Mackinac Island you can get away with things that maybe in a lot of other gardens maybe wouldn't work quite right. But it is, if anything, the lesson to take from Mackinac Island is that you can be as crazy with color as you want to be, and it's amazing how it all sort of works out in the end. Alright, so we're going to roll into the videos here. I hope you enjoy them, and if you want to see more, do check the links in the description. I'll hook you up with all kinds of other videos. So we're starting at the gardens up by the Grand Hotel, and I mean, I think you can just see here it is just a whole bunch of color with a nice sort of layered habit to it. We've got things right up to the edge, which I absolutely love, and you know, just a nice layering, taller things in back. I'm actually not sure if there's some mechanism in this garden that they do that, or if they've just planned it that way, because I didn't really dig in there. Now we just have to pause on this corner for a second so I don't get hit by these two taxis that are going by. But it's a good chance to take a look at just how this corner looks, which is just, you know, beautiful. I don't know how you can argue with what's happening there. So as we go around this, you see things like cosmos mixed in there. There's a lot of black-eyed Susans, a fair amount of cabbage in there, some cleome, And then I just wanted to pause on this corner to show you, look how those cabbages are planted to almost serpentine through there. I think that really makes this whole garden, those cabbages. By the way, those cabbages are spotless, no signs of bug problems whatsoever. Here's a little garden that I just thought was pretty. It's very shady right there, and it just proves that you can have plenty of color in a shade that's kind of a little raised bed. Also, by the way, don't you just love this little boardwalk here? Anyway, so here's more of this garden that kind of wraps around the corner. This is sort of a continuation of what's happening there. Of course, I had to get in there to take a closer look at that dahlia right there, but I never would have put that dahlia with a black-eyed Susan of that color, and yet somehow it manages to work. I think that's the magic of Mackinac Island, is that everything just seems to work together. Again, planting right up to the edge. There's lots of alyssum in there and other things that they've used right on the edge. This is coming around the corner, that same corner now. Pretty heavy concentration of cosmos in there, and I do see some cannas sticking up in the background there. I just zoomed in for a closer look at this double cosmos, which was kind of pretty. And then this is that same border just going the other direction. Again, the filled up right to the edges, no soil to be seen. Now we're flipping over to sort of this island bed that they have in the middle, which is again just packed with color. One of the things I particularly like in this bed is that they could have put one big garden just with a simple border of grass around it, but they have this sort of serpentine area, which invites you to walk in there and look around, which is what they want you to do. Just had to zoom in on the dahlias again with some cleome and salvia and verbena bonariensis in there. But it also makes the garden feel bigger because, of course, we tend to walk around the edges of gardens. So when you have like this finger of grass that goes up in there, it's a much more meandering path to enjoy. This is something I think maybe I might look for a way to incorporate into my garden, because I think it's really adds a lot of interest to a garden. I was frankly a little surprised at how many orange marigolds are in this garden. It's a lot. And that orange color is tough to work with. I mean, they've got that orange mixed in with lavender and with apricot. And once again, somehow it all manages to work. I think because it is just such a riot of color. Lots of more cleomes as we get in here. The whole center of this bed, which was clearly like a taller area, really has a variety of mostly dahlias in it. Then they've got the cleome sort of mixed in there and some taller zinnias. But it was interesting how all the dahlias were sort of shorter growing dahlias that probably aren't staked, but look really good in there as a big mix of them. Of course, I'm a dahlia nut, so I like that. Then we come around the corner, and again, you see the shape of this bed, so you follow that around. More cabbage in there. Apparently, the cabbage white butterfly has not found Mackinac Island. They do incorporate some grasses in there. That looks like that's a purple fountain grass in there, which adds a really nice texture and some nice height, which is interesting. One of the things that's interesting to me is that they aren't really planting in swaths that much here. I mean, in some cases, this is just one or two plants popped in along the way. Of course, there are clusters of areas where they have plants, but, you know, they certainly aren't tied to just planting, you know, like, for instance, there's just one of, I think that's that white flame salvia. I have one of those. It's really pretty, but I think that's just one stuck in there. Okay, so now we've switched over to the Iroquois Hotel Iroquois, which is down on the water, one of my favorite stops. This is a Jack Barnwell designed garden, and I'm just taking a peek at the front here. I do love that lemon coral mixed in with that bright pink in there. He has this sort of serpentine boxwood that's been there as long as I've been looking at this garden, so it must be very, very old. And then we kind of go around the corner of the building. Now, what's interesting is that you're going to see in a second here, he's got a second strip of boxwood planted there. And I don't really know why that is, but it's always interesting to me what he plants in that tunnel. Because, you know, I have to think that's kind of a tough spot. And what I think is really nice about this is that it's got that, I don't know if that's a rush grass in there or what that is, but I think that texture of the grass popping up is really cool in there. So this is the entrance. Now you'd be walking back to the restaurant, which is the Carriage House. Highly recommended, by the way. But I like to pause here to note one thing, which is check out the repetition of the Hydrangea serrata tough stuff. It's the sort of pinkish, mauvish one. Left to right, left to right. Now this is what it looked like in 2019, and you can see that, especially on the left there, you can see that hydrangea. So I think these might have been planted in 2019 or 2018. And this year he relied heavily on that lemon coral sedum to create that repetition down the path there, which is just really bright, draws you right in like, you know, like you're on an airplane runway or something. Interesting to see the growth here though. And then this is actually from 2014. So there's a lot less height because those shrubs aren't there. And I have to say, I really prefer how it looks now to this. I mean, it's always beautiful, but I think with the addition of the shrubs on the side and a little bit of height closer to the edge of the path, it's a really good improvement in this area. So now we're back to this year. Again, you can see how that height along the edge, closer to the edges of the path, is really helpful. Still using some of that lemon coral sedum. Just getting a close-up of that tough stuff hydrangea. So pretty. Underplanted, I assume, with sun patience in that area. All of the plants in this garden are Proven Winners plants. This is a Proven Winners signature garden. So everything you see here is going to be, except for probably some of the lilies, is going to be a Proven Winners variety, and not the boxwoods either. I love that sedum in the middle of there. So this is really interesting to me. This garden actually inspired the terraced stone walls that I put in my own garden, but he does a much better job of keeping those clear so you can see that. Mine get all covered up by plants, so I think I got to clean that out. I love this little touch, just a simple pot with a red geranium, which is almost a signature plant on Mackinac Island, kind of a callback there. I love this little, this is a new double up begonia from Proven Winners this year. I actually picked up a couple myself, but once again, I think the terraced wall is a feature on its own. This is Royal Sunset Lily, just outstanding. Jack told me on an Instagram post that it just blooms forever there. It just seems to be really happy in that spot. The wall sort of carries you down this pathway, and of course they have this beautiful custom fountain that they had made, which is really beautiful. And I love the lemon coral sedum planted around the base of it, which just, you know, works so well with that aqua color on it. I didn't want to miss the other side. The other side's a little shadier, so you can see he's worked in things like some hostas and whatever, but I mean, everything always looks great in this garden. I guess we're zooming in on the hydrangeas again. Off on your right here, you see not only that little terraced area, it's got a little tree growing in it, but it's just a shady little area planted underneath it that I think is really cute. just with begonias, and just, add a little interest, and that's, closer to eye level. And then once again, filling in the ground right along the edge there. Again, this is a shadier spot, a lot of sort of sherbet colored begonias in there, some lamium in there, mixed in with the begonias and some hostas. And of course, this is an area that again inspired an area in my garden with the lamium and the ferns, and they're using a birch tree there. I have a Aurelia silver umbrella planted in the area that this was sort of inspired by. And then we just get to some, this is shady down here, so just some shade pots featuring some, I think those are Pegasus begonias in there, and some geraniums, because shade and sun don't matter on Mackinac Island. It's just perfect, I guess. Now this is my favorite view. You sneak around the outside of the restaurant, around to the back. You see that's Lake Huron in the distance there. Here he's underplanted a Limelight Standard with these sherbet begonias. I don't know if this is something I do in my garden because it's really pretty fluffy, but it sure is packs a lot of color in. Now I was there pretty early in the morning, so the sun's a little harsh here, but we're coming around that corner. Now this is a tiny tough stuff hydrangea. You can tell because it has a little bit of a double bloom to it, and it does tend to blue up a little bit easier than the regular tough stuff, which we're going to see another one of those right there, with underplanted with more of these begonias. Now I'm going to link to some of Jack's videos about doing this garden, but he had to redo this whole edge because the whole thing was overtaken by waves. So he made this almost into like a rock garden with really tough plants in there. It's quite different from the rest of the garden, but it's really neat looking. I actually really love this part of the garden quite a bit, with the stones worked in there. And I don't know, those Shasta daisies are just outstanding in that garden. He's even got things like little creeping thyme between the stones there, and some alliums. So this is sort of the lawn area. Now they will fill up this lawn with tables on big nights when they have a lot of people eating there. So that lawn is well used. But the edges of it are flanked with these really pretty plantings. Again, tiny tough stuff hydrangea, underplanted with all kinds of begonias and some coleus. He's even tucked in some papyrus grass in there, and he's got sort of boxwoods anchoring the corners. Even something as simple as, I think that's just a Dracaena spike in there, adds interest. That's like, to me, the most ordinary plant there is, but it really worked in that application. And then more papyrus grass as we come down here, more hydrangeas, some dahlias in there, sun patiens, alyssum. Again, these serpentine boxwood hedges really guide your eye through this whole space. They're really quite special, and it's a great application in this area. It also divides the patio from the grass, which makes a lot of sense here. This is just another little bed. This one was mostly blue and white, with a little bit of pink and red in there. Quite pretty. And then we're going to pop onto the patio here. By the way, this is my favorite spot in the world to have a cocktail on. So if you're ever on Mackinac Island, go there, sit on one of those tables, get yourself a cocktail, and watch the freighters go passing by. These planters are planted all along the edge. Again, I'll link to the video where he shows them planting these up because there's a ton of them. Really simple color scheme. We've got red geraniums, Bordeaux supertunias in there, sparkling amethyst superbena, some rush grass in there, and that's pretty much it. And some Verbena bonariensis in there. That'd be meteor shower. And like, what a good look that is. And same planting in all the boxes. It's interesting, in some cases the geranium has kind of outcompeted the other ones, so you see a little bit more red, but it's very pretty. This is a aqua pot that he's got planted on the patio there. And he's got a few other pots that have similar plantings in them. They were cleaning when I was there, so that's why the brooms and stuff are out. I told you I get up early to do this before they have guests outside when I'm creeping around the garden. Another little stone area. I suspect this area probably is affected by waves too that come over the break wall, so that's probably why he decided to do that. Hi, that's me there. And this is just a planter overlooking my very favorite view. That is in the distance there. That is Round Island Lighthouse, my very favorite lighthouse in the world. Now we are off to another garden here. And right now we're just zooming in on why the gardens on Mackinac Island are so good. Yep, that's horse crap. And that manure makes some mighty great soil. This is just a little in, and I always like showing this garden because I think this is sort of quintessential cottage garden here. So behind this white picket fence is all stilbies. In front of it are hollyhocks and roses and some foxglove and snapdragons, but sort of cottage classic plants in here. And I see some Geranium in there as well. It's always the same pink, sort of, light blue, white color scheme. But I feel like this is very quintessential cottage. This sign, which says "Gardener Wanted," must look good bending over. They now sell this sign, and I think I'm going to take credit for that. Several years ago, I took a picture of it, put it up on Facebook. It went totally viral, and I think they realized they could sell the sign.
Beautiful.
Oh, there's some liatris in there. Well, actually, a lot of it as you get to this end of this border. So now we're just moving on. This was just the cutest little planters I saw walking by somebody's door. Really skinny planters planted with like a Dracaena spike and those beautiful peach begonias that look perfect with that door color. Thought that was really charming. These are more of Jack Barnwell's designs. These are in aqua pots outside of the Chippewa Hotel and the Pink Pony. I just thought they were interesting. They're in shade, so it's interesting to see, I think, how you do shade pots. He's got, tropicals and houseplants mixed in with more begonias. Begonias were everywhere on the island this year. I think begonias are having a moment up there. But, it's all about foliage texture up there in these shade plants. And I just like these two shade pots because I thought they were really interesting. Check it out. There is a mini boxwood planted in there. It's not the centerpiece. It's just there as added foliage interest. And I thought, what a cute little idea that is. I mean, it's not meant to be the star of the show. It's just any other plant. And then lastly, we have the window boxes outside of the grocery store there. They cover a very long area. There's 4 of them. They are always planted beautifully. I loved these for that peach begonia that was in there with all the purple. I didn't realize until I was looking at the video that the red was even in there. And once again, I never would have put that surefire red begonia in there. And it works great, but I never would have thought to do that. So lots of alyssum in there, Verbena bonariensis in there. Just a beautiful combo.
Okay, so those are just a peek at a few of the gardens of Mackinac Island. There's so many other beautiful gardens, and some of the gardens that are at private homes are more traditional gardens. These are sort of public-facing gardens for the most part, but interesting to look at nonetheless. Let me know what you think about them, and if you've never been up there, it is a fun destination to put on your list for some point. And if you ever need any sort of recommendations about Mackinac Island, I think I've been there 40 times about, so I'm well versed on Mackinac Island stuff. Best way to reach me for something like that is send me a private message on Instagram, and I'm happy to share some thoughts with you about it. All right, I hope you guys have a great day in your garden, or even better yet, a great day not in your garden, because you got to give yourself a break. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.